Hi, everybody.
Hey everybody, welcome to TFT, Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
me, Banshee. We got some big business to discuss today.
This is going to be a big reading.
Election business.
Yes, it's our special election reading for the American 2024 presidential and other elections.
And appropriately enough, we'll be using
Where does it hurt?
Tarot.
This might hurt.
This might hurt. Where does it hurt is unhappy hour, which a lot of us are unhappy with things, in our country, in the U.S., and even worldwide. Some are wondering what's wrong with America. We're fighting with each other. We can't get along. So this is going to look at a lot of different facets of what's going on between now and Election Day, and then Election Day to Inauguration Day, which will include, of course, some readings on the results of the election.
Right. Banshee worked really hard. She came up with six
Really
or seven
hard.
different real specific questions that I think are kind of cut right to the meat of it, help us focus for this. So
it's more stressful than that because, there's a lot of emotion tied into this election.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we are going to try to be as unbiased as we can, letting the cards speak to us. But, we do have our biases. We'll just say that. So any other readers out there that want to interject constructive, a look at these cards, feel free to do so.
And of course, we are wearing black.
Yeah, we're in mourning because this is a tough subject. I know it is. All right, I'm going to let Mr. O shuffle. Our very first thing that we are tackling right now is what will be happening between now and Election Day. This could be with the candidates, the parties, the climate in the country, just different things we might see going on. Any kind of preemptive election interference.
And we'll call it the way we see it. I mean, if the cards mostly look like they're looking at an emotional reaction, we may be able to see that, or whatever it is.
We're only throwing 3 cards, unless we think we need more. All right, for this one anyway.
So what will be happening between now and Election Day in the country as a result of people thinking about digesting, processing? And it is what? The Three of Wands.
The 3 of Wands.
Upright.
Along with the 6 of Pentacles reversed. And the Page of Swords is upright. Well, I think what we're clearly going to see is just a lot of, the candidates trying to connect with the voters, trying to communicate effectively their message, as best they can to try to garner votes. It seems to me, I wonder here if there's going to be more of, Mr. Owen, I want to see what you think of this, if there's going to be somebody who starts to pull ahead in these last days before the election. If polls are going to start showing a bigger gap between the candidates one way or another.
Well, to me, that particular card maybe just speaks more to the mood of the electorate or the country, and specifically because
unbalanced.
Because of that, and of course, I'm thinking of the Simon Garfunkel phrase, any way you look at it, you lose. And of course, the 6 of Pentacles is about maybe not so much winning.
People may feel whichever way that I will give him that. I'm still going to stick with what I said because I think it's valid.
I do
it's
too.
very possible. But I also see here this idea that, people feel that no matter who they vote for, they lose. They're not, invested in this is going to change their lives in better ways.
Now, also as a mood or barometer, that 3 of Wands could be saying that there's a mood here with some or more of the electorate for looking for this opportunity to move towards something better. And so maybe people are saying this election is an opportunity to move to something better, to pick an opportunity that promises to take you exactly where you like, catching a wave if you want.
Well, and it's funny you say that because, the opportunity maybe is here that, they're hoping to communicate effectively enough so that they have an opportunity to close or increase their lead on their opponent.
Nice.
I could see that very clearly here too.
And I didn't weigh in yet, but I totally agree with you, or will say it in my own way, that Page of Swords does seem to speak to the idea of the campaigns trying to be, reaching you gracefully, diplomatically, tactfully.
Telling you what you want to hear.
Telling you what you want to hear. In some cases, though, there could be that inverse anti-factor where maybe there is still sense of a cleverness here, and they're also telling you what they think you want to hear or what they think they can make you want to hear.
And of course,
politics.
We do have some people already saying that, this election is going to be rigged and they're trying to suppress voters in different states and different things are happening, even on one side, they've been trying to get third party people off the ballot or in some cases on the ballot to, mess with their opponents. So you see a lot of shenanigans going on each side with this. And I can sort of see that in the mix here too.
Well, and a lot of this has already been processed by the news and pundits, so we probably can't add that much more to that.
We're moving on.
All right.
So at this time and at this moment, we just had the VP debates on Tuesday, and we're filming this the day after Wednesday. And so at this very moment, who does it look like is more likely to win? And for this one, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're going to have 2 cards for Kamala Harris and 2 cards for Donald Trump and pair them up. And there's going to be a wild card in this.
Right, and we call this normally the 2 and 2. We do this a lot on our live stream when people ask questions that sort of says this, that.
Right. So, and I do a similar 3 and 3 reading for my Lions game predictions where I'll do one team versus the others, offense, defense, etc. And then I have a wild card. It's just going to be 2 cards in each column and what they look like and comparing it to the other side and see who looks like a front runner right now. And remember, anything can happen in such a close race. So it's like
and it's interesting that you
change.
make the sports analogy because politics in its own way is a sport. It is certainly very competitive.
It's a brutal, dirty sport.
It tends to be, at least in recent eras, winner take all, and maybe it's a little brutal. It's a lot brutal.
It's a lot brutal. All right.
So once again, at this time, who is more likely to win the fall election?
Okay, so we're going to do 1 and 1. So the first column is going to be for Kamala Harris and then Donald Trump. Okay, so the first card for Kamala Harris, the Knight of Wands, reversed.
Knight of Wands.
But the first card for Donald Trump,
reversed.
Strength. Does tell a story.
Second card for Kamala.
The Magician.
The Magician. Upright. Second card for Donald Trump. The 3 of Cups reversed. Well, doesn't it indeed tell a story?
We got to throw a wild card. Yeah, we're doing it.
Wild card. 6 of Swords. Ooh,
Somewhat,
wow. Story here.
Wow. Well, we're not paying cards against cards per se, like 1, 1, 2, 2.
Right.
What I am going to say here is it looks like Kamala Harris still has her back up against the wall maybe now a little bit here. Yet, she must have some tricks up her sleeve, or the Democrats do. They have a game plan, and it may pay off for them. If they have enough will, strength, and determination, they may be able to pull a come from behind her. But they seem like they still might be lagging, maybe perhaps in some of the swing states or something like that.
Well, there's nothing that indicates that, but we know that just from our own general take on politics. I love this idea of Kamala Harris having the magician there. It sort of says, like, here's where the magic is, that her campaign and or her presence is magic. Having said that, the reversed Knight of Wands could be saying this is not necessarily a glamour that she wears to all, the electorate, that maybe some people feel that, she is not charismatic enough, or she is not brave or confident enough. And of course, those could be just more impressions, opinions, projections from others.
Well, I might also say that she might have some missteps, or the campaign does in this, right now. Some people might say that Waltz in his debate wasn't hard enough, even though he got some zingers in at the end of the debate. For those of you who watched it might know that. He was too nicey nice, and they feel that, I've already heard some pundits saying that he should have been more aggressive. He should have attacked some of the, talking points more aggressively that the Democrats have. And so, it's possible here, though, that they're going to be able to pull everything together and, possibly edge out this guy.
So let's look at this guy.
Because of what we see here. And doesn't it look like the same old story, same old song and dance?
It looks like the same old song and dance.
I have to say it. He's not making a lot of people happy.
Well, I'm going to even just go slightly broader and say this is the campaign more than him, too, in a sense.
Right.
The idea of strength reverse, just sort of pushing their way, bullying their way. It's a perfect card to kind of sum up that sense of what a lot of people feel about Mr. Trump, that he's just a bully who forces everything along.
I honestly can't believe we pulled this one for him, but in a way, it certainly fits. He comes on strong, he comes on aggressive, he pushes people, he bullies, and that's what it looks like is happening this month. But it's not having the effect he might have hoped it did.
Well,
right?
The last thing I want to say about strength reversed is, of course, it would speak to the person who doesn't use the power of the heart or compassion in solving things. They just believe in sort of brute force.
I like that, yeah.
All right, so now let's talk about the Three of Cups reversed. This is
Well, what did I say?
I liked what you said there, and I feel like this maybe could be talking about the mood of the electorate, those that would elect him, or those of us that just are concerned about the election, the idea that there's no happiness. And, you could kind of feel that in a sense, really, when you do take a good look at audiences for each in the campaign, that you sort of feel there's just a bitterness there on that side, that people are really bitter and overwhelmed and sort of have a punitive view of what needs to happen to make America great again.
So on one level, they may not get much more of a bump off of, the debate, even though J.D. Vance was very articulate. Certainly I think that J.D. handled his debate in a more articulate fashion than Donald did, initially against Kamala. But, that aside, it just feels like, and I wonder here too, with this Three of Cups reversed, if it's not so much also the electorate, but there might be some intra-party fighting going on that could be putting a damper on things. And, we've been seeing in Michigan here, I don't know about you in other states, a lot of commercials lately by Republicans who are for Harris, that the Democratic Party people are putting out. And so I don't know if more people are kind of turning away because of this kind of behavior and some of the things that he has been saying in recent times.
Interesting.
But let's look at the wild card, because I really think this really says something to me. I feel here that it's hard to say which one of these are truly going to come out ahead this month and who looks to be leading this month. I might give, because these aren't the most well aspected cards, I might give a slight edge to Harris holding on here, but I don't think it's going to be by a big enough margin to make everybody think she can win the election. So,
and has a mandate, quote unquote.
So, looking at this, I really feel here it's dependent upon which one of these is able to move the needle their way.
Yes.
You know, it's a 6 card. You notice how 3 are leaning this way and 3 are leaning that way on this card?
I'll take it a little bit further, too, because just the actual meaning of the card says, this goes to those who most think someone will lead them away from trouble.
Ooh. Well, that is true. You know, there is a truth to that card. The people want better days. So whoever can convince the electorate that, you know, they're going to lead them out of depression and or to better out of the bad economy, whatever they feel is wrong,
Their
the wars,
are, right.
You know, to better days is likely to come out on top, be on top right now. So it's interesting, and I haven't seen any kind of poll since the VP debate, so I don't know. I guess we'll find out in a week or so how this turns out and where things stand. But this is the here and now. This is not necessarily how the election's going to turn out.
All right, so now we will, though, take a gander at November 5th. What will happen on Election Day? And once again, like the first reading, it's a gestalt. It may talk about what actually happens on the ground in terms of politics or voting.
But you know, voter intimidation.
It's more likely to talk
turnout.
About moods of the country and or situations that maybe have a broader swipe but are coloring what is possible here.
Yeah. Will there be problems? Will there be shenanigans with the ballots? Stay tuned, everybody.
Right, and clearly there are, a number of cards that could point to that. Out of a deck of 78 cards, are those cards going to be the ones that we pull?
Well, I'm still surprised we pulled straight reverse there.
Nothing surprises me. I was a little surprised that we pulled the reversed Knight of Wands, but I think I have to take that for Kamala, because I think I have to take that into the sense of that some people may view her more favorably than that, but maybe in a gestalt way, that's what people are seeing. The idea that they don't feel there's the total, I'm cutting right, confidence that the reverse of that, the upright Knight, would bring. At any rate, what will happen?
Oh, it's the 7 of Wands reversed.
7 of Wands reversed.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, Fate, how about being a little more specific? The Wheel of Fortune, it's upright, thank God for that. And the 2 of Wands. Well, the 2 of Wands may speak to the idea that there is a clear decision, that there is sort of a sense of order. Something has sort of more or less been decided. Something is set.
So do you think that means that there'll be contestation, I'm pretty sure.
I know.
But are you saying it'll be a pretty good majority, whoever wins it?
Well, it may look like that like at the end of the day, there's just sort of like no sense in saying there's a real, fungible possibility there, that maybe there will clearly look to be somebody is holding the world.
Well, but let's take a look at this in total.
Let's look at all of them, yes.
All of the ramifications here. So what will happen on Election Day? I feel here that there may be some people who have to stand up for their right to get their votes in. This is almost what I'm feeling here, and they seem to be disadvantaged. So this looks very unnerving to me.
It could be talking about the kind of areas where there are challengers allowed to, the voting process, and then various complications of that, to say nothing of the fact that it may just really try to delay people from getting to the vote.
Right.
Like
I'm thinking in terms of voter delays, machines malfunctioning in certain districts, different things that kind of cause the vote, and then them just cutting it off at an unreasonable time when people weren't able to get their ballots in. So also we have to factor in, mail-in ballots, any shenanigans going on with that might surface by election day. The Wheel of Fortune is saying, though, that, karma's at play here. Karma is big time at play here. Now, on the one hand, this looks positive, like maybe things will come out okay and, karma will set things right. And especially with the Two of Wands here, I almost feel as though, somehow or another, we will get this election done. And there will be, I have to agree with you, I almost think there might be a more clear cut than not winner. Something that might be a little bit harder to contest.
Right.
Which I find hard to believe at this point.
Just the idea that, of course, there always are contestants, bigger or little, could be summed up in the idea of the Wheel of Fortune, too. The idea that there is enough of a sense of faith that maybe things may look a certain way, but there's still going to be some movement going on towards that. The first card is really the one that is the most troubling, I suppose.
Well, and you know what? I'm going to speak to the electorate here, and there's a lot of talk as to whether people are really going to come out and vote because there's so much disenchantment in the country right now. But I have a feeling that this card is indicating to me we are going to have, if not a record turnout, a really good turnout for this vote. And that, will be interesting in and of itself, is true.
Some amount of punditry has suggested that there's easily going to be another 20, is it 200? No, it's 20, another 20 million votes than we normally got. That last election in 2020 got about 30 million more votes than was normal, and this may take it up another 20 million, I think.
Well, I can't also, when I look at this disadvantaged voter here, as I like to call it, but, or whatever this is, maybe some candidate feels they're at a disadvantage because of the turnout. But whatever, speaking of the candidates and what might be going on with them, but this leads me to another thing I've been wondering about. With all the insanity going on in these districts that were hit by the hurricane, I wonder how it's going to affect voting there and the outcomes in those states. Not just because the people might be upset at one party or another because of what they've been through and maybe not getting support fast enough or whatever they might think or say, but because it's, they've been cut off, and maybe the voting stations, they have to set up, buildings and municipal things have been destroyed. They have 1 month to figure this out. So this is interesting to me. And maybe that's where that Wheel of Fortune comes in too. Maybe it'll all get sorted out. That's my hope. But I've been wondering about this since that hurricane hit. All right, let's do our next question. And that is the actual outcome of the vote. Who will win the electoral count? And remember, the electoral count is not necessarily the same as popular vote.
The popular vote, the actual tabs there.
But since the president is determined by the electoral vote, we're going to go with that. We want to make sure we know who is president based on the Electoral College. And we're going to do Kamala Harris again, 2 cards, Donald Trump, 2 cards, and a wild card. I think you were supposed to shuffle first, but I will this time. And we can do the next one or 2. Shuffle. Okay. This is the one we're waiting for, huh? Who's going to win? We'll see.
And I just want to give a shout out to a couple of our viewers. No one in particular. They may recognize themselves if they watch this. But it's the kind of viewer who says, oh, I like your global or predictions for the year, annual year, predictions for the Super Bowl. We've done that 5 or 6 times now, I think. Close to that. Because we feel that as card readers, people want to also know other things than just what's going on in their own, lives. They maybe are interested in what the stars or the cards have to say about other things. I'm getting there.
I could do the Jeopardy theme.
La 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 la.
All right.
All right, once again, the outcome of the vote. Who will win the electoral vote? So first is Kamala and then Trump. Donald. All right, so Kamala gets, whoops, flip that. The Queen of Cups. And then it's the reverse Page of Swords. This one was upright, of course.
Uh-oh.
And then Kamala gets the reversed Six of Wands. And Trump gets the Nine of Cups. Now remember, we said this was the electoral. We definitely need a wild card, don't we? And there it is. The Knight of Wands reversed is our wild card. That came up previously in the first spread was happening. Or no, who is more likely to win? Okay, so it's an interesting reading. Let's see. So remember, this is about the electoral votes or possibilities. And it's interesting because there's good and bad either way.
Right, but there's really something I can't ignore on that side.
Yeah, let's go there then.
But let's talk about Donald Trump first here. The Page of Swords is reversed. And I think here that, wow, this could just...
Sorry.
The Page of Swords reversed indicates some troubling things to me. I seem to recall, and maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have sworn I've seen, sometimes people refer to the Page of Swords as being an imposter.
I can see that because the Page of Swords is somebody who maybe in my mind is a dancer, a performer, and in a sense a twisted performer would in fact be an imposter of some sort, somebody who's rogue.
So, he may win through false means. He may say again that he won, because it is, of course, his utmost wish and belief that if the election turns out any other way, he's going to contest it. And so I can look at it that way, but I can also look at this as saying, well, maybe some of the shenanigans that they've been doing with voters, voting registration, etc., manipulating things might pay off in a victory here.
Well,
it's highly possible either way.
I suppose the only other caveat I might throw towards that is that the Page of Swords reverse could be a clumsiness of some sort, somebody who maybe takes ill steps, but could that still work out? Yeah, beautiful loser, right?
Well, I don't know about beautiful, but
well,
but
in
a winning loser. Okay, so that's where my bias comes out. But I will say that this looks very promising for this looks somewhat promising for Mr. Trump for maybe not the best of reasons or ways. And let's take a look here at...
Just one last thought. It is so tempting to say this, though, of course, agreeing with you that the Nine of Cups expresses a wish, a desire, something like, that you just really dream about. Is that what's going on, at any rate?
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm really befuddled by this, but this one's a little clearer, but then again, I don't know. Because on one hand, it seems like Kamala's in a good position emotionally and feels really good, I feel, about the results. But yet, the results are an empty victory. So what does that mean exactly? You know, it's kind of like that maybe she wins but she loses, or maybe she loses but ultimately she wins.
Well, there are always these, concepts of a mixed victory, something that you pay more for to win, the
It's a
kind of
big
thing.
price, maybe.
Yes, and that could be very well that, because let's face it, anybody that wins in politics can't get anywhere. I mean, as president, can't get anywhere without the support of some amount of Congress behind them. And this also calls into the fact that, certain people that help put you in the winner's circle also may expect some sort of kickback too.
I can't ignore the fact that the card Kamala had reversed before is now our wild card, and it's reversed again. And so it could indicate to me that they don't make it to the finish line. They don't. Somebody is definitely, going, and it could be her that doesn't make it to the finish line. Or what I would say is that.
Well, we know from the 2000 election, they stopped the counting of the votes. Was that Georgia or Florida?
Florida.
That whole Supreme Court thing.
It was Florida.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't know that speaks to that kind of situation where somebody officially calls it off, but it sort of feels like maybe there is,
There's delays. So I wonder if there is delays in the vote counting. Maybe that's the wild card too. And so, maybe that's why this is a little bit ambiguous.
So wow, indeed. So let's move on to the next question.
So how will people react to the final election results? And I also added there, if Trump loses, will he accept the results? But I'm not going to operate under that principle now, because according to the cards, it looks like Trump will win. So let's just take a look at how people will react to the final election results.
Maybe that Knight of Wands as the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was Dark Brandon.
Well, what's Dark Brandon going to do?
Well, remember, the president has immunity.
Oh, goodness. Let's not go there.
All right, once
again.
But
let's see what will happen and how people react to all of this.
Two of Cups upright. And there we go again. The Six of Wands reversed. And the Emperor reversed. Well,
I think people will lose control. But, there are some people who are definitely going to come together on this. They're going to be very happy with the results. They're going to feel more closely bonded. But, others are going to maybe be crying foul. Maybe there's going to be a fight over this result. And I feel some people could lose control over it.
I agree with that more or less. I think there's another nuance I might feel there. But with the Six of Wands reversed, it sort of is like not being the winner. It sort of is like being the loser. And so even though there's a sense of some people feeling like some people feeling like, they got their heart's desire, they feel there's a balance or there's harmony now. Others will not feel that way. And that in general, the Emperor may, I'm not sure what I see there. It is an idea of disempowerment.
Yes, it could be a sense of feeling disempowered. And, when you said that, you struck a chord with me, Mr. O, with this card, because it made me feel that others are going to feel that now they're going to be left out. They're going to be unrecognized, and they're going to feel like they don't matter. All their work, all the things that they do, their lives don't matter. Well, and if it is a Donald Trump victory, for example, I would just say that immigrants might be fearing for, the mass deportations that have been,
Promise.
talked about. LGBTQ will be worried about what this means for their future. Women and the rights to control their own body, and realizing that more rights could even be taken away from them. So there's a lot of people who are going to feel disenfranchised and feel like their contributions to society don't matter. Not to mention all the government workers who may feel they may lose their jobs.
Okay, thank you for all of that. And also, too, the idea here could be is that this may pertain to these people as well, that they really have to hold on to each other and try to take care of each other because
Yes.
nobody else may be able to do that.
Right. So, All right.
Final question.
This is what we wanted to find out. What will happen between Election Day and Inauguration Day? Lots can happen, right? I didn't shuffle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I let you shuffle
I sort of
first.
thought about that at the last moment there. Whoops. Oh, thank you for that.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I did it before. I'm sorry. All right.
What will happen between Election Day and Inauguration Day? Queen of Cups upright. Two of Swords upright. Page of Wands upright. Well, I almost feel like people will sort of kumbaya, will sort of calm themselves emotionally, and there will be a sense of really sort of being prepared, being ready for something, being sort of, vigilant in a sense, but not necessarily feeling like you know exactly where to go, but you're prepared, you're sort of waiting there. And then the Page of Wands suggests that maybe there is a message you're waiting for, or part of this spectrum moving this way. The message may be good, the message may be talking about things that present new opportunities or new ideas coming out.
Well, the Queen of Cups upright to me indicates that, yes, it seems like emotional sensibility or stability will prevail overall. I feel like it's going to be a quiet period. It's going to be a real, quiet transition, I think, this time. There may be some legal maneuvering. I can't rule that out. Maybe there's some waiting for some judgment or decision here. It's possible. I won't rule that out, but I sense that there's going to be kind of a quiet transition towards a new beginning.
The other thing is that since sometimes we can look at the Two of Swords and see that it sort of is a mini avatar of justice,
Yeah.
the idea of waiting for justice could also be there too, and the idea that maybe there's a part of you that doesn't want to believe you know everything you need to know, and that's where the waiting comes from, waiting for it to come.
Well, it would have been interesting. We are done. This was the final reading, obviously. But what would have been interesting is if we had also looked at the Senate races. I don't want to add that. And the House to see if it was going to be a complete Republican sweep or not. So maybe we'll save that.
That's a really good point, because I've noticed over many election cycles that sometimes when there is a bit of that the one thing that changes also reflects a different change down there that ends up bringing some sense of balance, or it's not going to be a total sweep.
And that could be another stalemate thing here. And so, when we look at the previous reading, now we've got clearly that it looks like Donald Trump is going to win. I'm going to say that. But when we have those three cards out there, Kamala's empty victory could be that she wins, but the House and Senate are not in her favor.
Or it could be the opposite. He wins.
Right.
Well, he wins, but the Congress is not in his favor.
Well, but whoever is president now can make whatever changes they want and do what they want according to the Supreme Court and not be held accountable. So it's going to be kind of an interesting election. We knew this. We all knew this. I dreaded doing this reading, but for now I have to say it looks like Donald Trump may be the winner here.
Right.
All right, so until we see you again, and I don't know if we'll do another one pre-election. I think if things get really strange, we might do a brief update and see if anything has changed. But failing that, this is it. This is what we've got.
So take care, everyone.
And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.